Hi, Cindy.
Hi,
How are you?
good.
Good. Thank you for coming and doing this interview on Zoom. I'm
Oh,
going to
this is
give a quick
great.
introduction. Cindy is a mom to three kids. She was an elementary school teacher. She has a great love of art history, and she has been a docent at the Illinois Holocaust Museum for 3 years and probably will carry on being a docent, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, Cindy, tell us what you have and tell us the background for it and how come you have it.
So back in 2001, we lived in South Africa while my husband was working on his dissertation. And I found the Madam and Eve books. And I became obsessed with them and started reading them. I now own about 13 of them. And every time I go back to South Africa, I buy more. And they were really what taught me about South African politics, a lot of what was happening in South Africa socially. We were living there around the time of another election. And so I was able to understand how the elections were working, um, and um, and to really understand how the folks who were living in South Africa viewed their own politics, some of the things that they were really grappling with at the time. I think as an American, I wasn't privy to a lot of what was happening in South Africa, other than what I read in our American newspapers because of apartheid. We just heard the basic, stories, the macro stories of what was happening, and not so much what life was like for individual South Africans. And so, being able to see, I realized that these Madam and Eve books are they're comics for adults, that, that they kind of poke fun at people. So it's definitely a combination of fiction and nonfiction, but it really gave me a sense of what was happening within people's households, and also the similarities between South Africans and Americans,
Right.
even at a time when we were separated, from communicating with one another, and interacting with one another.
Who do you think these magazines were geared for? Like, who was their target audience?
Um, I think that they were meant for anybody who reads the newspaper. It was in the Mail and Guardian at first, I think it was once a week, and then it was every day. So I think it was meant, just for, I think to me, it seems kind of like, I would say for us as Americans, you could more compare them to Doonesbury. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think it was meant to be, the audience was not an international audience. Although I think it does, they do have more international appeal now.
Do you want to show us maybe a page?
Sure. Actually, I couldn't find this particular one in any of my books because I don't have one of the modern books. But this is one of my favorite ones because I follow Madam and Eve on Facebook. So I'm getting how they perceive our elections, which is very interesting. But this is one of my favorite ones that's more modern, from 2013 when Nelson Mandela died. And, about how people were just grieving him.
Yeah.
And then there's a similar one from when Chris Hani died, the leader of the armed part of the ANC,
Yeah.
in the Communist Party. Yeah, there's, sometimes some of these can get kind of edgy. They really focus on how, people, the main characters in Madam and Eve are Madam, who's an older white woman, and Eve, who is her Black domestic worker, and and the two of them are always trying to outwit each other, but it's clear they love each other. And Madam is definitely working very hard to be a liberal woman of the new South Africa. And so she always has to deal with new things to her, like her son Eric, who has a Zimbabwean, a Black Zimbabwean girlfriend, and she has to work through all these different issues, a lot of which I think, you know, we don't think about anymore or too much about, but it seems like South Africa maybe was just a few years behind the United States in terms of how, you know, how they dealt with some of these racial issues at the time. So
They explore them. That's what's fantastic and fascinating, how they explore them. Where can we find this online?
So, well, I'm finding them on Facebook. There's like a Madam and Eve Facebook fan page, and Amazon.com sells some of the older books, and the newest book, which is all these cartoons about how South Africans are dealing with COVID, where all the characters are wearing masks. I wanted to buy it. It's yeah, I think you can buy it through South Africa. You know, go online and Google it and order it. But it, you know, it gets kind of expensive to order things directly from South Africa. But I might just wait.
Sure.
But
fascinating that you've been collecting them all these years.
Yeah, it's been great, and I actually introduced Madam and Eve to my cousin who lives in Boston. I brought her some books back in 2001 when I came home, when I came back, and now she follows Madam and Eve. It's just I think it's just a really great way to follow another country's culture from their perspective.
Yeah, the comics are always a fantastic view. Yeah, they just give us an eye into.
And I just started reading again, you know, following Madam and Eve again recently, because I wanted to see how they were responding to what's happening in, well, two things. One is I wanted to see how they were responding to the pandemic, but also to see how they are responding to our politics in the United States. So it's been pretty interesting.
What kind of impressions do you have of that, of what they think of it? Do they mock it or?
So far, it doesn't look like they're mocking Americans so much, at least as far as I've looked back. It's more that they're mocking our politics. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So
complicated topic.
Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, I think Madam and Eve mocks politics in general, and they certainly didn't, you know, they weren't particularly rough on Nelson Mandela, but still there was a little bit of mocking there too, you know, with comics showing how de Klerk and Mandela were arguing over how to divide the Nobel Prize money and how to divide the statue that you get, you know, the little, you know, the actual physical prize, and you know, negotiating between who gets, you know, 50-50 or is it 60-40, and you know, so, you know, there's just you know, I certainly don't take what they're saying about the United States in personally, because they're saying very similar things about their own country. So,
well, thank you very much. Thank you so much.